Back in 2018, Kelli Christina said Brad Pitt reached out to her regarding a charity benefit to help victims of Hurricane Katrina through his foundation called Make It Right. Kelli and Pitt struck up a business deal on their own. This deal included Kelli making arrangements for 5 events and speaking with the public about raising funds for the foundation. In return, Pitt promised to make an appearance as long as he was paid $40,000. For Kelli, Brad's appearance meant everything. People would literally throw money at the organization if Brad Pitt so much as breathed in the room. However, days before the event, and after the $40,000 went through, something would come up and Pitt would have to cancel. However, it was never about the money. You see, in Christina's eyes, she and Brad formed a much deeper connection, one that went far beyond raising money for Katrina victims. They were in love. Kelli is quite an accomplished woman by several metrics. She ranges from an astute public speaker to a best-selling author. In addition, she runs a medical company called KD Staffing. She's a highly sought-after professional who plans to expand her business even further. All she wants is to make a difference in society. Christina's humble life began in the restaurant industry. She liked the business and decided to pursue her studies in hotel and restaurant management at the University of North Texas. She launched a medical firm in 2007 at just 30 years old. We're not sure how she went from restaurant worker to hotel management to medical staffing. Still, Christina was making a killing. Her business opened up just before the 2008 recession, and through all the highs and lows, Christina still came out on top. She even found time to write a book. Kelli was inspired to write her own novel titled Riding the Executive Roller Coaster: Medical Staffing Cases. The book follows fictional characters who experience real-life events, some of which she experienced herself. A character in Kelli's novel named Catherine Lane is loosely based on herself. The story follows Catherine's life for nearly 8 years, though there's some confusion about whether her book is a memoir, novel, or soap opera. Christina still experienced a few rough patches in her life for all her success, including homelessness. However, those patches are what ultimately inspired her to write the book. The roughest patch came when she was about to marry a world-famous Oscar-winning actor named Brad Pitt. Or so she thought. But it was all smoke and mirrors. Christina was never actually talking to Brad Pitt. Instead, she was talking to, and sending money to, a con artist somewhere in the world. This mysterious scammer made off with the $40,000 and Christina's bleeding heart after bailing on all 5 appearances. That was the last straw, and Christina never sent another penny. Instead, she sent the real Brad Pitt a $100,000 lawsuit. Brad and his ex-wife Angelina had briefly lived in the French Quarters when Make It Right was founded back in 2007. They had aimed to create sustainable housing for those who lost their homes during Hurricane Katrina. The goal was to build green homes with environmentally friendly materials, but those very same materials are what would eventually come back and haunt them. In 2009, news outlets called the project Brad's gift to the citizens of New Orleans, but shortly after, most of the houses were cited for building code violations. Make It Right stopped paying the landscapers to take care of the properties, and Mother Nature had its way. In 2018, New Orleans residents filed several lawsuits against the Make It Right Foundation. Those residents claimed that the foundation had used questionable materials, leading to plumbing, electrical, and structural issues. Basically, the houses were one giant big problem. As of 2022, only 6 out of the 109 homes were determined to still be in reasonably good shape. The remaining homes were abandoned after mold and other issues proved to be too much for the residents. Make It Right officially came under fire in 2014 once 24 of the green homes had begun rotting away. The foundation quickly went on the offensive, saying they used a special kind of wood called timbersill, which was supposed to be toxic-free. So what is this timbersill, and what was so magical about it that Brad Pitt just had to use it on all these homes? Timbersill is a glass-infused wood product that's supposed to last for 40 years. They advertise the material as an effective barrier to lumber rot and decay without using toxic ingredients. A spokesperson for the foundation said they didn't want to use deck lumber with harmful chemicals. It didn't take long for the wood to start rotting and changing color. What was found to be a problem in 2010 didn't make headlines until 2013. However, Timbersill claimed that they weren't at fault. They pointed out that their product just wasn't meant for the moist New Orleans climates. They placed the blame on the builders, as they should have known that before they built 109 new green homes. Within 3 years, rot affected 30 different houses, and Make It Right looked like they had made it wrong. But as early as 2010, the builders noticed mold forming in the timber sill. It cost over $12,000 per home to remove the faulty wood and replace it. The Make It Right Foundation was ready to take legal action and sue the timber sill manufacturer for $500,000. Brad Pitt put out a statement saying the foundation was prepared to rebuild the homes ASAP. Joel Embry, the vice president for Timbersill, expressed his sincerest apologies for the problems the foundation had with their product. Make It Right spent nearly $360,000 on materials and wanted $500,000 for damages and repairs they'd have to complete. They eventually settled the lawsuit 2 years later, but the exact dollar amount remains unknown. As lawsuits mounted, Make It Right abandoned the entire project. They stopped paying for landscaping, and they eventually stopped paying property taxes. As of 2022, one Make It Right subsidiary owes the city of New Orleans $15,000 in delinquent taxes. David ADJAYE is an architect of Ghanaian and British descent. He's widely known for designing structures worldwide, the most popular being the Museum of African American History, located in Washington, D.C. There was a small building designed by ADJAYE in the ward where the other New Orleans homes were being rebuilt. The foundation had deemed the house unstable, and it was soon knocked down. The city posted a warning sign on the house that said it was in danger of collapsing. Before it was a structural mess, the ADJAYE house sold for $130,000 to Kamaria Allen in 2011. However, 2 years later, it was a vacant building on the verge of collapse. In a 2018 interview, she talked about how she discovered fungus growing in her bedroom and kitchen. She found all of this within her first year living there. It wasn't until 2012 when she was finally able to sell the home back to Make It Right, and her old house has remained abandoned ever since. In 2020, it finally came down. Pictures of the home resurfaced showing broken beams along with missing panels. With each home costing $150,000 to build, the entire project cost $26.8 million. In Kelli's efforts to make it right, she filed a lawsuit against Pitt for $100,000, stating he was romantic with her and was able to get her to pay $40,000 to appear at charity events. Pitt's lawyer actually came to her defense, saying she was the victim of a scammer, something that she clearly couldn't see was happening. Still, Pitt's legal team made sure the court knew Brad had nothing to do with Christina. They'd never met, they'd never spoken, they'd never so much as sent an Instagram message. While they felt bad that Christina fell victim to a scammer, they weren't about to let her take Pitt down with her. Christina, at first, was incredulous that it wasn't the real Brad Pitt who would have taken money from her for appearance and not have shown up, and also pretended to want to date her. But she eventually, somehow, realized that the real Brad Pitt had no real incentive to try and scam $40,000 out of her when he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. She admitted to being scammed by a fake Brad Pitt. But here's the twist. She decided to continue with her case anyways because she felt that he still should have some blame. According to her, the tens of thousands she paid for Pitt's non-appearances were still deposited into different bank accounts of various staff members of Make It Right. Of course, anyone with half a brain can see that money went to the scammer, because why would the fake Brad Pitt continue to scam if she kept sending money to the wrong bank account? Christina also wanted to bring to light, in her words, quote, fan collections and donation relationships with Hollywood stars. She thinks that the shady activity between fans and Hollywood stars has been going on, quote, under the radar, and it needs to be brought to the light. In her mind, Brad Pitt and Hollywood stars like Pitt should make an effort to protect their fans from online scams. Brad Pitt ultimately emerged victorious in his efforts to get the $100,000 lawsuit dismissed. Unfortunately for Christina, she's still out the $40,000 she paid to meet Brad Pitt. That scammer to this day is still unidentified. Click to watch one of these next videos, and let us know in the comments section whether or not you think Brad Pitt should have any responsibility in this case.